Hi, good morning. Welcome back to the Blue Citron podcast. And a lot has happened recently, globally, of course. And of course, within the stratosphere of the energy world, Nigeria's had, her fair share from the passing of the Petroleum Industry Act to the oil price crash. And then oil price going up again due to the Russia-Ukraine war. And to my best, should I say, to my knowledge or to my thoughts, I believe, this is some sort of opportunity for African producing countries. But the question is, are they taking up the opportunity though? Now that the oil price has gone up, how much of activities is going on? Are they looking to sell, some of these products, well, the oil products, to countries that had been relying on Russia, for example? Well, today I've got my friend and an expert in the oil and gas space, in Nigeria, especially, nonetheless, of course, global, Francis Enakele, and he's the founder of Today, Tomorrow Energy. So without further ado, welcome you back again to the Blue Citron podcast. And we have Francis. Francis, good morning.
Good morning, Bimbo. Thank you for having me, and hello to everyone.
Great. So as I just mentioned, a lot has been happening within the energy stratosphere. So let's start with the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act in Nigeria. So far, has there been any positive impact, on the Nigerian people at the end of the day, knowing fully well that oil is the main revenue source for the country, for the government at least. And we do also know that Nigeria is actually more of a gas country, but it's not something that is really necessarily that had been talked about. But of course, that's something that has been in discourse recently. So what's your view on the PIA, Francis?
Thank you so much for having me again, Bimbo. Yes, oil and gas has had its merits and obvious demerits in the Nigerian oil and gas, the Nigerian economy in general. The PIA has been in the works for donkey of years and finally was passed in 2021. Prior to that, recent information by Rice that stated that Nigeria lost about, say, 15 billion annually due to delays in passing of the PIA. So we're indeed really happy that the PIA has been passed because right now the uncertainty surrounding the Nigerian oil and gas industry that deterred foreign direct investment or more investment to be pumped into the industry has been somewhat reduced, and people right now understand that there is a structure, not just a structure that surrounds oil that's crude itself, but a structure that surrounds gas and Nigeria's movement towards energy transition with a decade of gas in the rest. So to answer the question, yes, there has been some impact, right? But right now, with the passage of the PIA last year, we expect the fruits of that to come in the nearest future, say in the next 3 to 7 years. Hopefully, that if the government continues in its present momentum and is dedicated to hold fast to it.
Yeah, interesting. Let's see how that plays out, really. Keeping our fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yes. Fingers crossed, because Nigeria has a lot to offer in the African space, and not just only the African space in international markets.
Yeah.
So making positive steps like this, the PIA, the Decade of Gas, the Nigerian commercialization program that takes advantage of trying to monetize the flare gas. Those are positive steps. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So there's the positive steps that have been taken. So hopefully it pays up in the short to long term. Let's see how it works, basically, and see how Nigeria can position itself so when opportunities like what's happening in Eastern Europe appears, Nigeria is very positioned to take advantage or lend and support or something.
Okay, cool. Just before the pandemic, there was a lot of conversation around energy transition, and of course, with Africa being advised to gear up on the eventual, reality of things. And then pandemic happened, and now things are back to normal. as they say, and the conversation around energy transition is back. There's this rhetoric amongst people within the continent about why don't we just use our own energy sources to industrialize. And there's also the West saying you need to join us on the clean agenda, and basically a sort of leapfrog should happen. No need for you to overdevelop your hydrocarbons. Just go on to the clean energy space, pick up hydrogen. There's abundance of sun, so solar, get that working. Obviously, and of course, some countries are already on that. They've been on that for years. Kenya, South Africa, even. Top of my head, Senegal. Senegal, I know, has been using quite a number of renewable resources, and so many other countries. But of course, it seems sexier now to get onto the whole energy transition trajectory. So, you think this is working for Africa, or you think it's going to work for Africa? Your thoughts on that, Francis?
Okay. There's no doubt that the world is facing an unprecedented energy crisis. However, Africa right now is in desperate need of energy based on energy insecurity. We can say that urban population will increase rapidly in the next few years by 2040, stated by so many information, double by 2040. Right, right now in sub-Saharan Africa, 55% of people lack access to electricity, right? Mm-hmm. And about say 900 million people lack access to clean cooking, right? Now that has already set the precedent, right? I do believe the world needs to transition. However, the world doesn't need to transition to clean energy or clean energy at the same time or at the same pace. Yeah. Now, Africa has its own distinct energy mix that has to evolve and be created to meet its needs, right? Mm-hmm. After that has met its needs, it can now transition firmly, right, towards cleaner energy. And that is what recently the African Energy Week in South Africa in 2021 spoke firmly about that Africa needs to make use of gas now. And that is what Nigeria is trying to do with a decade of gas, with its commercialization program to monetize flare gas, right? So Africa, yes, it's working towards it, but it doesn't have to be on the same timeline with the West. The West is already a developed nation. Africa, a developed continent rather. Mm-hmm. Africa needs crude, oil and gas to develop itself to a particular level, right? Bearing in mind net zero, right? So that when that time comes that Africa is firmly developed and now ready to make that energy transition fully, it takes advantage of it. So what I'm saying is that yes, I'm a believer of the energy transition story. However, I believe Africa needs to charter its own course to cleaner energy. It doesn't have to be at the pace of the Western nations or any other continent that thinks that way. That's my own personal opinion.
Right now, even Africa emits only 2.5% of the global emission, of which half of that comes from South Africa, a single country. So. Uh-huh. It's already on, I would say, net zero, I would say. Of course, yes, there's still that minute, amount there, but it is already there. But of course, when it comes to also using, when it comes to developing and improving and industrializing, using its resources, using oil and gas, we also have to be aware of the potential impacts that would also cause with the emission. So definitely there has to be, a balance, to work hand in hand in terms of, the carbon capture and so on and so forth, whilst, producing and consuming this hydrocarbons. Now that said, I agree with you being a believer in energy transition. But of course, we cannot be at the same pace with the West because, of course, the West is already industrialized, isn't it? But also, the West is, oh, please correct me, I may be wrong. There's a barrier to financing oil and gas projects in Africa. Does this then mean this oil and gas project should be financed internally? I want to believe the resource, or well, the funds or the money is there internally. When I say internally, I mean within Africans themselves, African banks. Do we necessarily need to start looking to, Western institutions to finance projects in Africa, knowing fully well there's been a cap to, financing projects in Africa?
Just to add to what you said, yes, and the good part is this: Africa is already charting its course really after that African Continental Free Trade Agreement get to encourage intertrade within the African countries, right? Industrialization, there's a need for industrialization. And following the Africa Agenda 2063 strategic framework that sets to transform Africa into a global powerhouse of the future, right? So Africa is geared towards cleaner energy, but first, Africa more or less needs to take care of Africa. We have our own pressing needs. Africa has about, say, 800 TCF of gas. So there's no reason we cannot use gas, right? That's abundant resource to transform Africa, right? While at the same time taking care of, or rather ensuring that we are making the transition. It has to be a plan, right, that takes into consideration Africa's development first, right? Because like you rightly said, Africa is contributing about 60.5%, right? So in terms of the net zero in terms of carbon and the rest, we're contributing quite a low number, right? So Africa really needs to take care of itself right now with the pressing needs it has: energy insecurity, power, fuel consumptions, and the rest. So I see reason for that, and I'm working towards that direction.
Interesting. So you talk about energy security, power, and so on and so forth. I'm going to touch upon that, but before I do, I wanted to quickly pivot into what's going on in Nigeria at the moment. What has been going on fairly, recently with, the divestments with a lot of companies living onshore, activities living the onshore fields and either completely leaving the country or going so deep offshore, or they're already offshore anyway, but just selling off their onshore, fields. So what's your thoughts on that with what's going on recently?
Okay, I have mixed feelings on that, really. The divestment by the IOC started somewhat about, say, 2010. And we have about, say, 5 IOCs that are contributing 45% of our crude production and 40% of our gas production, right? Now, these IOCs since 2010 have been diversifying their onshore portfolio and focusing on offshore, right? Stating climate change and climate energy transition, right, as responsible for that, right? Yeah. Yes, I hear that, and that's quite good, right? However, it makes me also ask myself if the onshore assets were actually commercially viable, right, and form a strategic accord to their portfolio, would they be diversifying it right now? So that's a mixed feeling I have. Right, and I posted something about this on LinkedIn, and I've been engaging in other stakeholders, other industry, like
I saw that.
Yourself, right, to better understand, because it started off with Nigeria being crude oil and gas, the oil and gas sector started off with being a stubborn child, grew into a star, then a cash cow, but all of a sudden it's now becoming adored. Arguably, I use the word arguably, adored, right? Yeah. That's the onshore asset, because certain factors are influencing the key drivers for the key drivers for success, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sector, right? That is not only the oil and gas sector, but also the energy sec making assets commercially unviable for the international oil and gas companies, right? But then again, people see that as an opportunity. Well, it is an opportunity for localization for Nigerian oil and gas companies to step up, acquire these assets. However, if the IOCs are unable to deal with the factors that has forced them, right, to diversify these assets or make these assets unattractive to them, are the indigenous oil and gas companies, would they fare any better, right? And the reason I ask that question now is it's been 10 years since this diversification started with Shell, then Exxon Mobil recently are trying to diversify with the purchase, with the planned purchase or ongoing purchase by Seplat. Now you have Total, right? So it's been 10 years since the IOC started diversifying. Have the oil and gas engine, oil and gas companies fared better? Yes, but with this current level of insecurity, making an already stressed business environment more difficult, how will the indigenous companies cope? So that's where the mixed feelings happen. And it's just to put it out there for companies to plan better and strategize. So if they are looking at assets right now to acquire, they don't just think about the crude that they can get from it. They have to think about the whole package and come up with a foolproof strategy, right? That can help them take advantage of the opportunities while mitigating the threats that are still very much present.
Okay, yeah, good stuff. I mean, great thinking there. And as you say, these are also your feelings as well. And excuse me, I do agree with you. Excuse me. Not sure why my throat is dry, but yeah. So it's been a conversation people have been having, amongst energy people or oil and gas people, I'll say, from Nigeria, especially the commercial viability of this fields, these onshore fields. So yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for your views on that. Now, let me go back to the energy poverty bit, as I mentioned. So, I didn't say it. I meant, let me go back to the energy security, but that takes me to the energy poverty bit. How do we end that in Africa? Is it going to come to an end or is it not? Because you mentioned energy security earlier on, and I said, hang on, hold on to that. I'm going to come back to that. So,
sorry, please, can you repeat the question?
Yes. So I was saying that I wanted to.
Sorry, could you please repeat the question?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I was saying that.
Yes, I
can. So I was saying that back to the energy security that you mentioned. So this takes me to energy poverty, right? You talk about energy security and also power accessibility, and this takes me to that space again, which is something we've been talking about. A lot of companies, a lot of institutions have been talking about it, and it is not a new topic. It's not a new discourse at all. Energy poverty, that is obviously existing in the world, but Africa seems to take the cake of it all. How is this going to be dealt with? How do we bring this to an end? I know some institutions are working on, we need to end energy poverty by 2030 and so on and so forth. 2030 is only 8 years away. In fact, right now it's probably less than 8 years. It's looking more like 7 years because we're already in May. 2023 is going to be here before we know it. So, what are we talking about and what are we doing to bring an end, or at least working towards an end to energy poverty in Africa?
Okay, I think the first thing Africa will need to do is Nigeria need a minister of energy, right? Makes me the minister of energy. I think that's the first thing to do, right? But
I'll
jokes
second
aside,
to that. Yes.
but jokes aside, I think Africa and Africans need to stop the lip service, right? Be dedicated and committed. Know and understand that there is a problem and set smart goals, right? We come up with goals and lip service about what we will do, but it has only been what we will do, right? Now, like I mentioned earlier, Africa needs to understand that it has its own distinct energy mix,
Mhm.
right? Has its own distinct energy mix. And you don't, okay, we have different sources of energy from crude, from gas, from hydro, from solar and the rest. So Africa needs to know that, okay, certain areas need to make use of certain energy mix, right? And create a system that works. Right now, what Nigeria is doing with the passage of the PIA, Nigeria has about, say, 600 TCF of gas, right?
Mhm.
And what Nigeria basically is trying to do, right, the journey so far, is take advantage of that gas by creating a framework, right, and creating pipelines within Nigeria and also pipelines outside Africa, right, within Africa to other African nations, right? So that is what Nigeria is doing. So most African countries also need to follow suit, right, and make those same sort of similar investments that can take gas from where it is to where it's needed, right? With that said, I think Africa really needs to stop its lip service,
Lip
right, and
service.
just come
Yeah.
up, take advantage of what it has, right?
Mm.
Africans are really suffering by the lip service,
Mhm.
and they need dedicated leaders that feel the African pain and can do something about it. Nigeria's commission has approved the 27 project. The West African gas pipeline exists, the African Renaissance Pipeline project, the Trans-Sahara pipeline that to take Nigeria gas to Algeria. So similar investment is needed to take gas from gas-rich countries to where gas is needed to industrialize Africa. When Africa can become industrialized by investing in itself, that's monetary investment and also investing in its people. I believe in the nearest future, energy insecurity will be reduced to the barest minimum and hopefully become a thing of the past. But Africa really needs to stop lip service and invest in itself, right, by making the right decisions and invest in capital because capital is obviously required.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yes, capital, of course, is very important. And the lip service just needs to stop. I totally agree with you. Thanks. And yes, we need to make you the Minister of Energy. Why not? So, yeah. Okay. So I have one key thing to ask you now. Today,
Okay,
tomorrow,
please go ahead.
energy. What is the story? What is today, tomorrow, energy tales? What is it about?
Okay, Today Tomorrow Energy is an independent management consultancy firm that was set up for three purposes. One, to tackle the energy challenges by utilizing one of the resources that people obviously ignore, waste. So waste to energy, right? Secondly, was to tackle the fact that most people, you have rich, educated, knowledgeable consultants around the world, right, retired or still in the work that really that are committed to giving back to Africa, right? Because today tomorrow energy is African focused, right? So this independent consultants come together and help mid-sized, small-sized companies to achieve their vision, their goals by providing business financial services, not restricted to the energy space, but to other industries too as well. And
Mhm.
finally, the last reason it was set up was basically to shape the future, right? Because today's energy, right, is tomorrow's future, right? And that's why it was set up. So it's an independent management consultancy firm that works with small to mid-sized companies achieve their objective, African focused, right, in providing business financial services, all in the purpose of shaping the future.
Fantastic. And we really appreciate you for all that you guys do at Today Tomorrow Energy. It's quite interesting what you guys are up to, and that's saying one of the work that you've done in Cape Town. I think you had worked with a gas company, a Nigerian gas company, and we saw the report and everything that you did for them. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So yeah,
Thank you.
it's a big deal, Africa for Africans, or Africans for Africa. Either way, we just have to make things work at the end of the day. Very important.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Very
Well,
important.
Francis, yeah, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. There's so much we could talk about when it comes to energy, yeah, especially in Africa and then Nigeria. It's just there's so much we could definitely touch up on, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Francis. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Bingo. I hope this was good. And if there are further questions or if there are more highlights or something to gist about, please do let me know. We're very open to more opinions and things.
Absolutely. We'll be seeing what comments people would be leaving, and questions that people will be asking, and we'll definitely come back and address that for sure. Thank you so much. So a big thanks to our listeners, and until next time, it's Bim from Blue Citron. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you and take care. Bye now.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.